Hey, everybody. Welcome into the Lettermen Lounge. We are coming to you from Columbus, Ohio. Roosters, a fun, casual joint. It's training camp season. The football is here. There's going to be a new person joining the team in the next week or so. Quinn Ewers is reclassifying. So we've got a lot to talk about here as camp starts. That's Justin Zwick down there, Nicole, Bobby Carpenter, and Jeremy Birmingham. I'm Austin Ward. Bob, you're back. So we're going to talk a lot about Quinn Ewers. We'll get to that. We're going to talk about training camp, but you weren't here last week, and we had a Kevin Warren show, so I know there's got to be – you're just itching to get some takes out.
Oh, of how great he handled.
How did you miss that week of all of them to go on vacation?
Did you have to tape that and then rewatch it later just because, we know you're –
It was great.
Looking forward to it.
I just looked at the way Aaron Rodgers handles his press conference versus Kevin Warren when asked about expansion. It's like, we're going to talk to the ADs and the presidents and all.
We'll see where it lands.
See where it lands. Like, dude, tell me, hey, we're going to aggressively pursue things to make the Big Ten the strongest conference in the country.
No, didn't
Give
do
me that statement.
Yeah,
even if you have no plan of how to do it, just make that statement. But then that would actually
figure it out later.
But that would also require then they'd put an added level of pressure on you to go do your job. Then when you're very non-committal and don't say anything, it's tough. And as I was down in Anna Marie Island, right off Sarasota, people were staying like a house down from us. We're from Iowa, big Hawkeye fans. So we started talking about all this stuff that's happening in Texas and OU and all this and how upset they were about it, how much they dislike Kevin Warren too. And I'm like, that's fantastic. This isn't something that's just isolated Columbus. I feel like it's something we can kind of bond on throughout the entirety of the Big Ten, or at least schools that are actually serious about football. Yes, well, Iowa being one of those schools.
I still think there's unanimous agreement that he's handling those parts of the job very poorly. That's it. I mean, now that Texas and OU, we were talking about it last week, that's actually going to happen.
It's real.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't leak that stuff out. And especially, it's not something, it's like, hey, I'm kind of.
How'd that get out?
Yeah, kind of doing this, especially when there's a price tag of $75 to $80 million that's on there if they want to try to leave early, which they say they're going to stay. Why wouldn't they say they're going to stay?
Yeah.
I mean, we'll just make this awkward. We don't care. We're on the way out. We're not going to pay this, and we'll wait till you guys fall apart and dissolve, and then we won't have to pay anything to anybody. So there's a lot going into this. But going back, I mean, Kevin Warren just, by the way, all right.
Here we go. Now we're there.
Because these things are all starting to pop. So much stuff has happened.
Boiling.
I knew it was coming.
Yes.
When asked if you would handle anything different, do anything differently.
No regrets.
You can say you have no regrets.
No.
I've had a lot of great days that I don't have any regrets. Would I have potentially...
How many of them were in 2020?
Not many. But...
The greatest year of Kevin Warren's life.
Saying that you wouldn't ever look back and make some changes. Do I regret doing it? No. Would I have changed some things based upon information I have now? Yes. No one can sit here and tell me like, hey, even on your best day, you would have decided to maybe make one change here or there, but to tweak something. Like that is just absolutely
That's
ludicrous.
the only way we get better. That's what we learn in life. I want to perfect everything.
I wouldn't change anything. No, you're an idiot for saying that because only a fool doesn't recognize mistakes and say, I don't regret it. At the time, I thought I was doing the right thing.
Yes.
But now, with more information, I wish we would have maybe done this differently or maybe worded this instead of saying we're not going to revisit this and then revisiting it. He could have at least just said that. I wish I wouldn't have been so strong in my initial comments about canceling the season. Probably should have said we're going to look into it, and if new things arise, then we'll make
we'll postpone it for now.
Yeah,
we're going to reevaluate, look into some things, but no, it's just
no regrets, no changes.
No regrets.
Yeah.
No regrets is fine. No changes. That just tells me that. That's why people watch games. That's why you always analyze like, hey, this went good. What did it go well? How could it have even been better? That's all right.
In a normal year, they should be sitting down saying that, right? let alone a year where it was weird and COVID and everything else.
I would have been more impressed if he would have said, I think I did a great job, but you know what? I think we could have been even better. Now, you would have said you're a fool, but at least I'm going to look at what we did and try to enhance it for the next viral outbreak.
Or if he was worried about people just blaming him, he could have said, we made this decision and we got it wrong. But he didn't do any of that. We dove
The president's tied my hands. I had to listen to 14 schools.
I have to do what they say.
Point
they
the finger at someone else.
Yeah, and he didn't. Instead, he just took more on his shoulders. But I knew while you were down there getting tan that you had to have been loving that press conference.
So painful, man.
There was some great stuff that happened afterwards as well that also involved Kevin Warren and me. But we'll save those stories for another day.
How about Gene, too? Throwing him outside. He's like,
good, yeah.
I really didn't support him for exactly how he worded, but he slowly
got to the point
That was
where
the first time there was
himself.
some gap publicly.
We did not recommend, or it was not our recommendation.
For Gene to step that far out of line with what normally happens in the Big Ten is wild. It may not have seemed like that controversial.
It was just kind of like in there. It wasn't
for
like
him,
a big deal. But
for him, that was like taking just napalm to the Big Ten offices. I enjoyed it. Berm.
Hi.
We're going to talk more about Quinn Ewers, but
Who's that?
After we have
I've heard that name
Buckeye
before for some
leaves,
reason.
where we're going to be talking about the people that need to break out starting on Wednesday morning at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. That'll be the Roosters question of the week here.
Oh, neat.
So just briefly set the table, and then when Nicole goes back to her day job, we'll talk way more about Quinn Ewers and all the implications. But what happened here?
I mean, the kid has a chance to make a crap ton of money. And
Selling kombucha.
The state of Texas is not allowing young athletes to profit on their name, image, and likeness. Some states are. And Quinn, I think it really comes down to this. This kid was going to be at Ohio State 3.5 months from now anyway. Okay, so it's not like it's that big of a deal. It's just that
But the marketing is that big of a deal.
the marketing is that big of a deal. And that money, sure, that money could be here 3.5 months from now. But you know what else could be here 3.5 months from now? Another $1 million. So, you don't pass up that type of opportunity to change your life and to change your, and that family does not need the money. It's not a situation where, but who doesn't need $1 million?
Hey, man.
I would take it.
You know what you could do with $1 million?
A lot.
At least a guy like him.
Well, I mean,
Sometimes
what can you get?
Cut
you
that
could throw
mullet.
2 balls at the same time.
You could get 500,000 baskets of fried pickles tomorrow.
That is,
You could.
We could.
gosh,
How about that?
Appetizer Tuesday.
They might-
We'll break that
Tell 'em
down
to
into
stock
rooster
up.
bucks.
Yeah.
Rooster
Rooster
money.
What if somebody came in here and just said, "Give me $1 million worth of fried pickles on Appetizer Tuesday"?
I don't think they would.
That might
able-
be Jay-Z tomorrow.
Would we have
I'd have to bring
logistical?
Bill Zwick
We
in
would
with
have
me to help
logistical
eat all
issues.
those. Yeah.
We would. So I don't recommend that, but I mean, we'd appreciate
I want
it.
to. I want to know where this $1 million is coming from. I mean, I know Saban came out and said, their guys making, 7-figure. Is that real?
But you got to. This isn't
I mean,
about.
what
Sorta.
companies are dropping that kind of money on 17, 18-year-old kids?
The national ones. I think this is one of the biggest name, image, and likeness things that are, I think, being interpreted the wrong way. That it's always going to be the local businesses. Their advertising budget, Nicole can talk about this,
Yes.
I'm sure, hasn't changed. Like they don't have a sudden side slush fund side pot to give to the student athletes like right now that it didn't exist before. Especially if they can go get.
But if they sold 1 million orders or 500,000
that
orders
would
of fried
Yes.
that would help.
pickles,
That would
might
help.
have that.
I mean, Nicole can get Bobby Carpenter and Justin Zwick. Their Ohio State careers are over. There's no real gamble on those anymore, or AJ Hawk or anybody else in town. But if you are, Panini or a sports card manufacturer or memorabilia,
Which is big right now.
like Spencer Rattler,
NFTs.
saw him in Chicago last week. Already has a card in his likeness. He was autographing him there and paid to show up. I wouldn't be surprised if Panini is one of the first ones that's signing Quinn Ewers because they're going to lock him in basically forever at that point. The other deal that was talked about was someone in Dallas. I don't know anything about this kombucha company, but he's already got equity and cash in this group. So it could come from anywhere.
But this is a long-term investment for
Yeah.
these companies. This isn't a situation where someone's getting free food at Roosters on a weekend. This is somebody who
Which is the best endorsement deal you can have.
Well, naturally, but this is a life-changing thing. This is these companies saying 4 years from now, when you're a number 1 pick in the NFL draft, or 3 years from now at this rate, I guess, now we're a part of you, and that's what it's about.
So it's basically like what the shoe companies were doing in college basketball for the last 10 years.
Right, now
It's now out in the open. It's now all you can legally do that.
Well, and I think too, even though Roosters, we don't have a budget for that, just because restaurants, us specifically, our budget needs to be focused in the community as well. And then you have like the Nikes of the world and the national companies, like you were saying, that do have the budget to allocate towards these kids. I mean, that's beneficial for them. I mean, that's what their entire marketing strategy is. But our goal as well is, I mean, even if we're paying you in Rooster gift cards, it's still like money. You're getting food and just to make a relationship. I mean, I think that's the most important part. And I hope somebody is teaching these kids that it's not just about the paycheck at the end. It's about learning about these companies, sticking with companies that you believe in and that you genuinely like and share the same, morals and philosophies, and then keep a long-term relationship.
if we start to see kombucha in the Gatorade fridge at the Woody, then things get a little weird. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, what about Quinn Ewers
what-
brought to you by Hustler? You know, get some nice. I mean, is that on the ban list? I don't know where.
I would imagine that's. I would imagine
I think
that's.
it is.
I'd imagine
don't
that's
think
on the
that
ban
one
list.
is.
But who's to tell me? Like, I know what alcoholic products are. Like, I know what nicotine. Who's to tell me what is morally objectionable?
Well, that's why Ohio State has the 15-day review.
Who's over there reviewing that, by the way?
Bobby,
who is the arbiter?
Bobby Carpenter.
Yeah, that would be
putting
Zach, did they bring Zach Smith back on?
I doubt that. Have they not told you that
No.
that's your new job?
That's your job.
That'd be great. I'd love to.
They
sit
want
there
you
and
to
go
weigh
through-
all that.
That's
We're bringing
fine.
him in as the
Can I
recruiting
move
closer.
my application
He's going
to
to
the
look at
front
every
if you're going to be
deal.
doing that? Thank you.
Oh, goodness.
Thayer Munford, by the way, did mention that he was excited to come get some Roosters at Big Ten Media Days. So
okay.
he actually said he was coming with me. So that look forward to that
that's
during the
awesome.
season.
Yes.
Here's the thing.
A little Masson
I
Tiger in the
literally
house. I
just
like it.
now get a text message from someone on the NFL agency side asking for Quinn Ewers' father's phone number. Because this is now.
I already had that happen a week and a half ago.
It's a new world.
Just now. Like,
It's a new world, and there's no reason that Quinn Ewers shouldn't think about that. And I know that the decision was actually probably harder than people think because you know
a big deal.
you know what it means to leave your team. Like, you lost in the state championship game last year. He's at one of the.
Yeah, he's running away from that competition.
No.
That kid was at the Elite 11, right?
So I mean, Kate Klubnik, the kid that he lost in that won the Elite 11, is the kid that beat him in the state championship game last year, who's going to Clemson. So now it's hard to leave that because he was very, very adamant about
for sure
wanting to get back and win that and win with his teammates. And you guys know, I mean, when you're part of a team, and these are kids, this is South Lake. I mean, these kids,
I've heard about it. Yeah,
these kids have been playing together for 8-9 years. I mean, they've come up together their entire lives. So. It's a big decision, but how do you turn it down?
Oh, it's a huge decision.
I think there are ways that you could because it's not an ideal situation competitively to come into Ohio State. These guys know what your senior year at high school, all that you put into that to leave your teammates. We know that's hard. Berm, when we were there in May, both he and his father were talking about, hey, this is South Lake Carroll. We're trying to uphold the tradition. This is not about
the Dragons.
The Dragons. He's trying to slay that dragon and win the state title. Like, all those things, to me, that was pushing him to go. And it was maybe putting pressure on Texas to change their state laws. And when they didn't do that for name, image, and likeness, then you go elsewhere. But that's still, I mean, obviously it wasn't easy, or he would have made this decision several weeks ago. Yeah. But we'll put a pin in that and come back to it because he's not expected to be here on Wednesday when camp opens.
I mean, think about the irony here is we get to talk to Ohio State's quarterbacks on
Tomorrow,
Tuesday. For the first time in over a year. We have not had a chance to speak to C.J. Stroud or Kyle McCord or Jack Miller.
It's been like 18 months since we talked to those guys.
And now, the first time we get to talk to him, everyone's going to ask about a kid that's not on campus and that
that they've met a couple times on official visits or whatever.
It's going to be pretty interesting.
Yeah,
I mean,
and how that impacts their thought process, how long they're going to stay around in the quarterback battle. Obviously, we start there with the Buckeye leaves, and if anybody wants to pick a breakout at quarterback, Nicole, feel free to do so. But they'll be out on the practice field bright and early. I think 7:45. Berman, I will be there watching Spencer and Zach.
Way too early.
Too early for him, but I'm so excited because it's like Christmas. Football's
I am
around the
not
corner.
a morning
so
person.
exciting.
Yeah. I'm not sure if everyone's aware of that. I am not a morning
Well, Bob will have already been working for 2 hours at that
Bob
point.
is a morning person.
And his workout is at 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah, so we're doing all that. Workout will be greased up and ready to go.
All right.
I was disappointed that I was like, oh, I'll be done at 9. I'll be able to see all the practices, morning, afternoon. I didn't anticipate the 7:30 start times.
Well, they're not all going to be at 7:30. You just have to get rolling. I think they still do those split
Well, they have
scouts
to
start.
train to make sure that they're ready for the noon game against Oregon because Oregon's going to be waking up at like 3:30. So
Right. Yeah, body clocks. Nicole, pick anybody. Who's got to have the best training camp? What position, what player are you watching this month that needs to emerge for the Buckeyes?
I'm going to say C.J. Stroud with Quinn coming in. I feel like he's been doing so well. I've heard so many great things about him, and he just has to keep that up to not lose his spot. So, and to not get discouraged. I mean, competition, it definitely it can wear on you, but he's been doing so great, and I hope he sticks with it.
Yeah, that spotlight gets a lot brighter now with a fourth guy, but we'll see. He's C.J. Stroud.
Pressure makes diamonds.
Yeah, sometimes it bursts pipes.
Sometimes.
He was the
Gotta be
backup
made of the
last
right
year.
stuff then.
Led all the way through spring. Summer throwing sessions showing that leadership. I think this is still C.J. Stroud's job. No matter what, we'll see what happens. Jay-Z, where are you looking?
Gosh. I mean, I don't know.
He's going.
I want. You know who I want to have a great camp? this isn't going to be popular, but Mine Williams.
Why is it not going to be popular?
Yeah, because I just think everybody's in on this new kid, the
Travion
Henderson, and Master's still coming back. He toted the rock most of the time last year, but just seeing him play the little that he did last year, and I saw him play in high school. I called a state championship game his senior year. I mean, the kid, I was very excited to see him at Ohio State, and I think a good camp for him could get him in that rotation because you're going to have to rotate these guys, and they're not all going to have tons of touches, but I think he's one that could get in there and he can bounce around. He's a hard runner, so I hope he has a great camp and he's coming in, healthy and can stay fresh here through camp and maybe give that little freshman a run for his money.
And so that's the room that I'm looking at intently because it's like the quarterback position. Once you pick your guy, unless it's just an absolute disaster.
You're not rotating those guys. I mean, in most cases.
Yeah.
And I don't think if you're change from one to the other, I think that's a monumental undertaking to be able to do that. So it's the worst.
It's the worst.
It's the worst. So looking at the running back room, that's something where whether it's Mayan Williams, Travion Henderson, Master Teague, Marcus Crowley, all these different guys. They can play him differently, and so I'm curious to see how Tony Alford chooses to deploy him. Mm-hmm. I think Master Teague is a much better finisher than he is a guy you want to have in the entirety of the game. So how does he try to blend this? What do the reps look like in practice? Are they going to try to get certain guys in different situations based upon their skill set? So I think there's a lot of intrigue because that's something that can fluctuate a lot during the year, whereas the quarterback position, once you name the starter, you're hoping that guy's the starter all season long because if not, it's either really bad or there's been a terrible injury.
Yeah. Are you trying to have that finisher label catch on instead of short yardage guy? Is that
because the way that this was a Bill Parcells' thing, and he always loved playing Marion Barber. He was our hammer, and he'd come in at the
end of the game,
third, fourth series in the game, coming a little before halftime. But he was our guy that really got a lot in the second half. And you're worn down. That dude's big. He doesn't necessarily he doesn't have the great lateral movement like some of the other guys. But when you're getting tired late in the game, the last thing you need is 225 pounds, 230,
straight downhill,
just hammering with that big offensive line, and that changes the dynamic of how teams have to play.
Yeah, he is a runaway train when he gets rolling. I mean, but those trains don't turn much on the tracks, and that's obviously been Master Teague's weakness, if you will. Berm, where are you going?
These are very important questions.
Yeah, I know.
I think a couple players. Josh Proctor
we got a Schlegel situation.
Josh Proctor has to be a difference
Go through
maker
the depth chart
in the secondary. Josh Proctor has to be a difference maker. If he's not,
well, he's a proctologist, so he's going to be making a difference.
He's got to make a difference. Really, because Bob, the entire defense revolves around having someone that you trust at safety, and he needs to step up. And I'm actually going to directly counter your point and say that to me, Travion Henderson is a guy that, as a true freshman, coming in and being able to make that difference. And if you look back at Ohio State, the last two national championships were Maurice Clarett and Ezekiel Elliott, and you have that difference maker at running back. And Travion Henderson is a different type of running back. And I think that, best case scenario for Ohio State, he comes in and leaves no doubt that he's that guy and changes the offense because there are really good players around him. I mean, obviously Master Teague is a good running back. Mine Williams is a good running back. Evan Pryor can make some things happen.
Healthy
Marcus Crowley, all very good players. But from a football nerd type of viewpoint, what you see on film from Trey Henderson as a running back is different than these guys. And
elite.
It's an elite skill set that not a lot of guys have. And that first year, that freshman year, that fatigue weighs in at different points. And I think just having him be able to pick up that acceleration towards the end of the season changes the entire.
Could be like a Trey Sermon last year. Maybe he comes on at the end of the year and gives us a little.
I think it changes the dynamic of the whole offense. Yeah.
Might not take that long for Travion Henderson. We'll see. Yeah. This is the one show that really disagrees more about running backs than anyone out there. I love that. It's going to be about those 5 guys up front blocking for me. 4 of those spots are locked up. You're not going to remove Thayer Munford and Nicholas Petit-Frere from the lineup at tackle. That's the best tandem in the country. Paris Johnson, potential generational talent. He's not going to be dislodged from that lineup. He's going to be a guard. Harry Miller, I think people keep questioning him. Maybe could he lose that job? He's not going to. He's been built for this.
His job.
He's a 5-star guy. He was thrown into that Michigan State.
That's how anybody remembers. He was a center. What is this? He can't.
Yeah. He struggled, and he did. Yeah. But you try and play that position with 12 hours notice, which is what happened when Josh Myers tested positive last year. sometimes it would have helped if Ohio State had been more forthcoming with the issues that even the healthy people had to deal with because of that last year. But he's going to be just fine. He's healthy, had that offseason surgery on his shoulder, so he's fully healthy, ready to go, and got a year of experience. So left guard, you've got 4 or 5 guys that are all 4- and 5-star recruits who could fill that. I don't know if it'll be Josh Fryer, Matthew Jones, Enoch Vamahi. Got a newcomer in Donovan Jackson to throw in there.
D-Jack?
Yeah. I know Berm is very high on him down the road, maybe as a Wyatt Davis type guy.
Ooh.
We'll see if that happens right away for him. And who did I leave out in there? I don't know, Luke Whippler. So any of those guys could emerge there. And if they want to mess around and put Harry Miller at guard, they could. I don't
mess around and put DeJuan Jones over there.
They could.
He's done it too.
Yeah, so I don't know what's going to happen, but I think that's interesting because you're going to have to protect a first-year starting quarterback who's never thrown, no matter who it is out of these 4 guys, they've never thrown a pass at the collegiate level. You have a deep running back and stable there to work with, but if you can't protect on that interior, we've seen what happens and the problems that can arise there. So that's where I'm looking. Who else? Anybody else we want to throw in there?
I have a dark horse.
Let's go.
Corey Dennis needs to step up.
Oh, we're going to the coaching staff.
As a receiver? Or
I just think for
special teams ace.
This is his second year as a quarterback coach at Ohio State, and he is in charge of the most talented quarterback room in the history of college football.
Wow. It's a big statement right there.
Big room.
Managing the human beings,
Yeah.
that's probably going to be...
That's what I'm saying. I mean, he's not out there working with them day in, day out on mechanics. Ryan Day is still doing that. But when you're talking about managing the egos, managing the personalities, that to me is that's the one thing this season that can really totally submarine the Ohio State path to
And not only did the quarterbacks not talk throughout all of spring when Ohio State was trying to keep that under wraps, but Corey Dennis didn't either. They didn't want him or need or whatever the decision was. They let Ryan Day speak for that position. But the schedule for tomorrow, unless they change it, is Corey Dennis, C.J. Stroud, Kyle McCord, and Jack Miller.
I bet they change it.
All schedules subject to change.
Yeah, what are the
Usually
chances?
it is highly subject to change. But
I can see that one.
You talk about the pressure. They thought that it would be really easy for them to have that the day before. Can limit what they say, just like they shut down Jay-Z throughout his entire senior year, so that he
junior and senior year.
Maybe not stepping up. Maybe stepping up is the wrong way to say it, but he's in a position where
he's got to handle that room. He's going
to be in the spotlight in a way that I don't think he ever anticipated being in the spotlight when he took over, 2 years ago. So now that is squarely on his shoulders.
Nicole, what else is on your mind?
I think he can handle it. I do. I have confidence in that, and I think there's a negative side to having just these really young, fresh kids to deal with all of them. But it's nice that you're dealing with all of them being the same age, being new. First year, I think that's going to make it a little bit easier for him, and because they're all going to be doing it together. So we shall see.
National Chicken Wing Day has come and gone.
So we just want to say thank you to everyone. It was, we were a little nervous about. Nervous isn't the right word, but just
the uncertainty of changing to boneless.
Just
chicken
only
is a
not
nervous
being
bird.
not being able to feature traditional wings for National Chicken Wing Day. We did not have one complaint. Everybody
your boneless wings are the best in the city.
But it's
so
just
that's
so nice.
easy.
All of our guests were so understanding and just went with the flow. It just meant a lot to us. So thank you to everyone for that. And then tomorrow we have fried pickles. So very exciting.
Baskets. You can't have 500,000 of them. I exaggerated.
Unfortunately, yes.
The availability.
How many portions do you think you actually have in the kitchen?
Ooh,
Get back to us on that.
I will. That's one thing I am not familiar with.
Yeah.
I need to learn more of the kitchen side.
That'll be a topic for next week. We're going to let Nicole go. We're going to talk a lot more about the Ohio State quarterback battle when we come back on Letterman Live. It's brought to you by Roosters. It's a fun, casual joint.
Roosters is one of the unique companies that we deal with. They're involved in everything we do, from our personal foundation to also the Cancer Research Fund. And that's from the Buckeye Cruise from Cancer to all the events leading up to the Buckeye Cruise.
They donate back to different organizations that are near and dear to their heart. And we're so fortunate to have been with Roosters now for a long, long time.
All the folks at Roosters are just genuinely kind folks, and they want to make a difference.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
All right, welcome back in. It's the second half of Letterman Live, and it's going to be quarterback heavy, as we've already been talking a lot about Quinn Ewers, C.J. Stroud, Kyle McCord, and Jack Miller. I mean, we've talked about name, image, and likeness. I didn't think it was going to spill over into guys skipping their entire senior year of high school. That was this is probably still an isolated incident. Most people don't.
Depends how it goes.
I think that's something people are going to worry about. Like, how does this avalanche start? And I
Can't
think
start the fire without a spark.
Most people are not Quinn Ewers, and so I don't think that it's something where you're going to have companies really try to latch on that early. But I mean, it's no different than the kids who decided to skip a bowl game a few years ago, and now people are skipping. It's just going to happen. I mean,
I don't know how many 5-star quarterbacks are going to come out every year saying, I'm just going to skip my senior year and go make some money in redshirt.
Well, that's why the NBA
stop them.
That's why the NBA developmental leagues and all these things are taking out. These kids they realize their window to make money is short, especially if your window to make money is entirely based on your ability to perform an athletic competition. Like you can't do that forever. So the sooner you can capitalize on it, you better.
But let's look at it from the on-field side is what I'm more interested in than the money.
He's basically coming here knowing he's not going to play this year. He's just trying to get...
Because we beat that to death with the name, image, and likeness part, but somebody who's missing their senior year, all these games for a quarterback or any position really, but that's what we're talking about with Quinn Ewers and playing. Like those game reps, that experience on the field are so critical. I would be worried about what that means for the development of him as a passer, even though he's coming to work with the best and he's going to be with Mickey Marotti and Ryan Day and get physically developed. Just playing the game is so important.
So here's the thing. Would it be better, and he would be able to talk to it more, is the physical development that he will be able to get with the strength and conditioning staff and his ability to learn the offense for a year before he would really ramp up and be potentially vying for that starting position, having to unseat a guy. Is that more or less valuable than playing your high school season as far as giving you the opportunity to have a job? So live game reps in high school, it's in a very high level play that they're going to have versus knowing the offense for an entire year and being there and then being physically developed and understand what you need to be able to do. I don't know if I have that answer, and it might be different for probably every person, but that's what I think, because people are like, why would he do it? I'm like,
I think you do have that answer, though. Generally speaking, the development physically and mentally he's going to get at Ohio State is going to be better than what he would do in three more months of high school football. But Ohio State's also not going to put him in a no-win situation here. They're not going to bring him onto campus, whether he shows up next week or 2 weeks from now, whenever his final college course that he needs, the English class that he needs to wrap up.
High school credit.
Right. So whenever that's done and he gets back here, there's no one at Ohio State that's going to be, okay, Quinn, now you're ready to go. Like the kid, I mean, if you look at photos of Quinn Ewers and seeing him in person as I did over the summer,
you see that sweet mullet.
The mullet obviously stands out, but he is not a physically ready to play college football type of quarterback.
I don't think Ken Dorsey was ever physically ready to play college football.
How'd that turn out?
Well, he got knocked unconscious in a national championship game, and now he's a coach somewhere.
Right. So, I mean, exactly. I mean, my
won one, lost one, and then he's a coach now.
My point is that Quinn needs to...
What a random example to use.
He was so skinny.
He was not...
Well, the game is different. Come on. The quarterbacks are different now. You look at Kyle McCord.
Quinn Ewers right now has a stronger arm than what Ken Dorsey had his entire career.
All of us do. But that's not the point. The point is, to play football at Ohio State, you need to be physically ready to play football at Ohio State, and he's not. And so that development now gets accelerated, and he gets those 4 months ahead of time. And this isn't about Quinn Ewers playing quarterback for Ohio State this year. I don't think anybody with a reasonable expectation thinks that he'll be playing meaningful minutes this year. The redshirt rule allows him to get in some reps, which is good. But, Kyle McCord needs those reps as well. So does Jack Miller or C.J. Stroud, depending on who's starting. So this is about preparing Quinn Ewers for January. So it's just basically a 4-month warm-up to get to that.
Yeah, but it's live game reps are hard to duplicate. I mean, and he's playing in a high-level football down Texas. So, I mean, he's playing in some big games. He'll be in front of big crowds. He'll be in big stadiums. There's not much. I mean, coming up and watching practice and, going through the progressions from the sideline it's not the same as playing and being live bullets in a game. So
highly paid
to get here 4 months in advance, I just don't. And it's going to be good. I mean, Ryan will start working with him. His footwork is terrible from the stuff I've seen. It looks lazy to me. And those are just highlights that I see. I haven't sat down and watched a full workout of his. So that kind of stuff will be good to get a season worth of. But if you came in January, I think you'd have plenty of time to, hey, this is how we do things here. You're in our 6 a.m.s now. I mean, you're going to get a feel for what it's like. You're going to be better off, stronger going into spring football, and you're going to have those months of studying the playbook. And, you know, I haven't looked at this playbook, but back when we were in school, I basically had that playbook down in the summer before, you know, I came here. I imagine
this one's a little bit more advanced.
100%.
Which is your point.
All I'm saying is it can happen. You can figure out.
That's
these kids are
Bobby's
smart.
point. That's why it makes more sense for him to get in.
Well, his offense down in Texas right now is probably more sophisticated than what our offense was when we were in school. I'm guessing he has.
That's not hyperbole.
I'm guessing he has a little bit more, you know, idea of different. And it's all just changed so much. I mean, you can pick up film from anybody online and watch different things. All, you know, we didn't have that.
The very simple question is 12 months of preparation better or is 8 months better?
So, two things we're taking. Number one, Burn, I'm taking away. I think you're saying that he's got a girth problem. He needs to get in here, get beefed up by Marotti, really thicken up, so he's going to be able to take that pounding. The second piece is Kyle McCord came in early.
You sure that's the way you want to describe it?
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
Kyle McCord came in early.
Sure did.
He was behind Miller and Stroud from a developmental standpoint of understanding the offense. And so that was what, believe me, I don't have the answer of whether something may be different for every guy. Or some guys that may be better to play and get those game reps. I think Quinn Ewers has started a ton of games at Southlake. And so maybe he's had his fill. I don't know. But girth him up a little bit, throw some beef on him, and then he should be at least physically ready to handle that.
I don't know what the answer is either. That's why I'm asking you guys, and I don't know. I think Jay-Z probably would have wanted to play his senior year and get those game reps. I think that's where you were going with that. And I think if you asked Ohio State or Ryan Day and you gave them that truth serum, they would have said, let's play some football this year elsewhere. Like that, this just kind of disrupted the whole recruiting plan, Berm, and you know that better.
Well, it happened so quick, and it just kind of came out of nowhere, and it's like all of a sudden the coach is saying, well, we got another 5-star in our quarterback room now. I mean,
now you have 2 quarterbacks in the class of 2020 with C.J. Stroud and Jack Miller, 2 quarterbacks in the class of 21 with Kyle McCord and Quinn Ewers. The plan for Ohio State in 22, was obviously one guy, was Quinn Ewers. Now you have to go out and find another one. The top 30 quarterbacks in the class are committed. So it's not going to be like, I know it's Ohio State.
Flipping dudes, bro.
Right. It's not as easy as you think at quarterback, especially when you're telling these kids, hey, just come in here. We don't have anyone else. Actually, yeah, we do. So it becomes a much harder proposition. That's not even going to be easy for a kid like Drew Aller, who's in Ohio, committed to Penn State. He's been integral in building Penn State's class, which is now the top-ranked class in the country. Like, you don't just go tell that kid, okay, now we want you.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's not going to be as easy as people think, and so now it becomes that roster management. Does Ohio State skip in 22 now and go get a transfer? Because certainly
portal shopping.
You got 4 quarterbacks.
You're going to lose
in your room. You're going to lose two of those probably.
So now you're going to have to go out and find one in the transfer portal, or you get another 22. Ryan Day does not want to keep doing this portal dance, but
no, who would?
This is the game of college football now.
Well, and I think that everybody has asked, well, which 2 is it going to be? I mean, C.J. Stroud is the leader to win this job. So the most interesting guy, and Jack Miller fell behind in the spring. We've talked about this for a long time. We're not breaking any new ground here. Kyle McCord really impressed. If you're Kyle McCord, you don't have to instantly leave just because Quinn Ewers shows up. He believes in himself. He believed when
he's a 5-star guy.
The competition is good.
He's not some scrub, and he has a head start on Quinn Ewers right now. So I think that there's all this talk.
Kyle McCord's a future NFL quarterback, and he is not afraid of Quinn Ewers or C.J. Stroud or Jack Miller or Bryce Young or DJ Uiagalelei. Like Kyle McCord can win this Ohio State job.
And I'm not saying this to be dramatic or stir up controversy. One of the guys who might find out how good Kyle McCord and C.J. Stroud are this month and think about his own future is Quinn Ewers. Like, it's great. Everyone says he's the best prospect of all time. We've seen him. I was amazed.
I heard he was like Pat Mahomes and Dan Marino.
Hey,
he's been working out.
I watched him practice.
Not a terrible.
He's really freaking good, and my jaw dropped at some of the throws he made. I'm not changing my tune on that, but I'm saying the other guys are really good too.
If your jaw dropped at that, think about when he adds some girth, what that'll look like.
Well,
Think about when he's throwing.
I don't want to be thinking about anybody's girth.
Think about when he's throwing it to Garrett Wilson or Chris Olave, and
or his high school.
My point is, Kyle McCord doesn't have to just like, oh, well, that's it. Quinn Ewers is coming. I'm done here. I'm never
So
going
you
to play
think
at
he
Ohio
might go
State.
the Tate Martell route, talk a lot of trash when he comes and then leave?
Kyle, number one, I know Kyle fairly well through the recruiting process. Kyle is not going to say a word. Kyle's going to just put his head down.
Tough
and work.
kid.
That's all he's going to do. And there's not a player in that building who's more confident in his abilities than Kyle McCord, period. And so you go out there, you take Quinn's best shot, and then you figure it out from there. But I don't. To your point, I really don't think that. I think the person who may be most surprised at how good the quarterbacks at Ohio State are is Quinn Ewers.
One other thing about him classifying early, reclassifying and leaving, and I was trying to get this answer talking to another media guy, and that no one's positive on it yet.
Why weren't you talking to me in Berm?
Well, this was an NFL guy, and it was more along the lines of trying to figure out when he will be draft eligible, because it's written
3 years out of high school. So
and it's not. It's 3 years after your graduating class, and so I don't know how that would be interpreted. I don't think the NFL wants guys coming in earlier. And so I think that, and they do a pretty good job of winning things in court for the most part. I mean, the NFL,
they've got a good record.
They do.
Yeah.
I mean, even you can.
Plenty of money.
I don't even understand. You can have the law on your side and you still lose somehow.
But then,
that's what
his graduating class 21.
And so that's the argument is like when would they determine that? And so that's the one thing that would need to be looked at and analyzed. Because he really didn't graduate with the class of 2021 unless you count post-grad summer school, and so that's what trying to figure that out. And I don't know. The NBA has an age deal on it too, which is, it's all going away, but I was like, is it 3 years or this age, or it's just 3 years from when your class would graduate? So,
that's a lot of talk. I mean,
because that's why
for
those guys
a kid just skipping his senior year, coming
he's
into
still
a quarterback room.
He's still got to get his Buckeye ID.
So you talk about him coming in, and getting a full year of work at Ohio State, and it's like, well, if CJ Stroud
and Romo,
if CJ wins this job, he might not play for 2 years. Right?
Well,
I mean, we talk about him getting this extra 12 months. Who knows what could happen?
Mahomes and
CJ
Romo
may go out and run the show.
Probably a better comparison.
Okay.
Mahomes and Romo?
Yeah.
Romo too. If they had a child,
it'd be Mo.
Romo?
Maromo?
Man.
Yeah, I know where you're. Yeah. That sounds good.
Tony Romo Mahomes.
The kid would also be very ethnically diverse. It would be half white, half African American, half Mexican. I mean, so you'd really have a lot in there.
Probably a pretty good baseball player.
You would think.
You guys might need a biology lesson too. I don't think that what you're talking about is really possible. But
well, I mean, in today's world, anything's possible.
Come on. You could clone. They could Jurassic Park that thing together.
Today's world,
life finds a way.
But they never stop.
Has a high level of income,
but they never stop to ask if they should.
Yeah, wouldn't that be weird? I think that tells me that the show has gone off the rails and Letterman Live is winding down. If we're talking about cloning quarterbacks, that's given me a lot to think about this week. Ohio State quarterbacks are scheduled to meet with the media on Tuesday.
Good luck tomorrow. What's your first question going to be? Do you know it yet?
How was your
who's going to be the starter,
guys?
Is that what it's going to be?
Did you have
Did you guys go on vacation anywhere? How was it?
No.
Did you wear sunblock?
It's a great question, Jay-Z.
Cats or dogs?
Because I don't want to start just by saying Quinn Ewers, but
his first question depends on who we talk to first. So
Jerry Emming will be the first guy I'll talk to.
I'm not going to say what I was just going to say. I'll save that for later on when the show ends. Appreciate Nicole Cox, as always, for having us back here in the Lettermen Lounge. That's Jay-Z, Bobby Carpenter, and Berm. I'm Austin Ward. Camp starting Wednesday. Full coverage coming at Lettermen Row all year, all week, all month. Non-stop coverage of the Buckeyes as we get ready for this season. I'm Austin Ward. Be right back here next Monday for Lettermen Live at Roosters. It's a fun, casual joint. We'll see you here.